Hey, what's going on, everybody? So today, finally, I'm getting around to this budget Ryzen build. So the total in hardware for the build is around $400, which is almost identical to what I spent 2 years ago on that Pentium build that I've shown you guys before, that Brina uses. Now, this build is going to be used for very light gaming. Sims 4 and Minecraft were what was mentioned to me by the buyer, and I think we're gonna be okay with what we have here. If not, I'll throw a 750 Ti or something like that in it, just to keep our prices down, but our performance right at the level we need them to be. So, what do we have here? For our RAM, we're using Vengeance LPX by Corsair because it's good RAM, it's solid, it's decent with Ryzen builds. For our storage, I went with an XPG 512 gigabyte NVMe M.2 solid state drive. Power supply. This is essentially the cheapest 80 plus bronze that I purchased. I always purchase these for low power builds, and this is going to be a super low power build. This will meet the probably beginning to middle of the bell curve on the power curve for this, so that's excellent for that. For our motherboard, I'm actually really excited. I really like this motherboard a lot. This is an AB350N from Gigabyte. And it is an adorable little ITX motherboard. So that's a teeny tiny little thing. I like that a lot. And it has AIDA 211 AC 1200 built into it. For our processor, we went with the Ryzen, of course, 3200G. It's got onboard graphics, and I can overclock it in the BIOS to allow for 2 gigs of graphics memory. So this should do just about everything she needs it to do graphically. I'm going to test it all out, and as long as it's to my liking, this is what we're going to end up with. And last but not least, our case. This is the Metis Plus by Ryzen Tech. Now, I have used a couple of these in builds already. Brina's is in one, which is the first time I had ever used it. I absolutely love it. And I built a really ugly gold one for somebody one time, but they liked it, so good on them. It's already got a fan in it, so I only really need one to balance the airflow out, and I already have a whole box of Corsair AF120s. If you don't have one, then you have to buy it for this particular budget build. They're like $10 to $12. They're super cheap. They're decent fans, especially for a low power build that's not dumping a whole bunch of heat into the system to begin with. Now, one thing I am changing up is this CPU does come with a fan, but it's not RGB, and I have a spare Wraith Prism that I'm going to throw in instead. So I have the non-RGB version just in an emergency with my 2700X. It'll squeak me by as long as I'm not overvolting or anything like that. And she'll get the RGB because I don't need it, want it. Have any care in the world for it. Mine's on a water block, so who cares? So that's all our parts. Let's get them all together. Let's get eyes on this box, because I have not bought the blue one yet, but I've been eyeballing it for a long time because it looks absolutely fantastic. But I mean, look at that. That's really nice. That's a very, very nice color. And it's just anodized aluminum, so it's wicked light. Weighs nothing. I actually have 2 magnet trays. I just never use them for this. One is full of parts for guns, and one is full of random computer screws. Yes, I know that was less than satisfying. probably an easy way to do this. But let's use these mounts. Come on, buddy. There we go, and snap, and up. Oh, I just feel like it's gonna break in half. Ugh. There's the size difference. There's also a 2-inch height difference. It's okay. Alrighty, moment of truth here, folks. We've got power, and as soon as I find the jumpers on this thing, we'll have. There they are, and hey, there we go. Easy peasy. Monitor has power. Fingers crossed. Fan actually pushes some air. Come on, buddy. Like that set to HDMI.
So if you have installed a newer Ryzen chip on an older board, you may have already guessed what's going on here. At the time, I had not yet guessed what was going on here. So I was testing everything I could think of. I was trying different configurations, trying different RAM, I tried a new motherboard, I tried a video card, all sorts of stuff. But what was the issue? My BIOS. Before you install a 3000 series chipset on an AB350 motherboard, or even some X470 motherboard, if you don't have the BIOS updated beforehand, then the computer will not boot. It won't even post, it won't get anywhere at all, it won't know. It'll be like, what did you put in me? This is not recognized, go away now. So essentially what I had to do here was very unfortunate and very time consuming, but it worked. I had to pull the chip out of my computer, which was a 2000 series, the 2700X, which was fully compatible with the AB320, and then update the BIOS from there. The whole process here took me a couple days to figure out what was going on. I even went and bought a new motherboard just to see if it was the motherboard, and obviously it was not. If you wonder why I lament about having to take this processor out, as you can see, it's pretty thoroughly plumbed in, and the computer itself is cabled to the wall and through the desk. So I'm going to try to pull the water block away, get the CPU out, and not have to tear this whole thing apart. Fingers crossed.
10 seconds later.
So it turns out that was just not going to happen. It's not coming off, so it's going to be a full drain. Pull the CPU, and then test it, and put it back in, and then refill, and yeah. It's fine, the water hasn't been drained in 3 months, so some good clean water will be fine. And herein lies the largest downside to a water-cooled system. To get this CPU out, oh my god. Okay, so yeah. To get this out, I had to tear down the system that freaking far, which is not ideal. Now, let's update ourselves a BIOS. There we go. Okay, we've gone through restart 1. Normally it does 2 or 3 restarts just to learn the new processor. It's a bit of a jump from a 2700X to a 3200G. Okay, there's reboot 2. And here's number 3. I have a squawky little parakeet running around in circles. Hey, we've got video. Well, it's a bummer that I'm a dummy and didn't try this to begin with, but I'm quite happy that at least it wasn't a burned chip. And I'll have to let them know it's not a burnt board. I'm just an idiot. So we're going to get Windows installed and get this bad boy finished, because I am just done.
Pop the fan off. And I'll do this. I'll do both sides. Man, this side just gets crazy attached. Did a little twist there so the CPU did not get stuck to the board, which is good. Okay, cooler is off. 2700X, come with me. Hang out over here. And 3200G back in. Okay. Clipped in. Throw this guy back over. Plug it in, plug it in. Maybe. There we go. And now we're gonna go. Gabriel, why are you shoving chairs around the room, silly boy? I swear, toddlers are strange people. Okay, let's see. Just feels like that plastic clip is gonna just snap. Okay, good, 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 good. Let's put our video into the board. Make sure that APU is actually functioning the way it should. Fingers crossed, breath held, all that good stuff, and let's jump it. Jump. Oh, I guess it helps if we turn the power supply on. Alright. Now let's jump it. Alright, fingers crossed. Okay, we've gone through restart 1. Only does 2 or 3 restarts. Hey, we've got video. So we're gonna get Windows installed and get this bad boy finished, because I am just done. I'm going to put the board in the case real quick, and then we'll install Windows. About the best I'm going to get right now for packing those cables. Not so terrible. Okay, guys. 3 hours later or so, I've got some mild overclock supplied, and I wanted to see, can it Minecraft? And it turns out that yes, it can Minecraft. Quite efficiently, actually. So right now I'm running just at a solid 4 gigahertz on all 4 cores. Probably going to bump that up to 4.1. But yeah, right now I'm just running at 4.0. The GPU I'm running at 1.5 gigahertz. I'm going to bump that up to 1.6. And the RAM I am running at 2400 just because it's stock speed. So not having any issues with that. I know this would perform better with some 3000, but the 2400 is what I had. It's what's going into the system, and it's working just fine so far. Not having any problems with it. And it's nice and stable, holding at about 36 degrees, even while mining and crafting. Furmark heats it up nicely. It's kind of a potato when it runs, but it runs. I think it runs at like
8 FPS or something like that. Ooh, we got 12 FPS. No, 10. But I let it run for like this for about a half hour, and it did just fine. Heated up to about 46 degrees, 47 degrees, something like that. It's not going above 50 degrees. So I'm going to run ultra quality, extreme tessellation, 8x on my anti-aliasing, system res. Let's melt this thing. Well, we're at 10 FPS, but it is running. Let's see if I can run a full loop. Yeah, that right there is a complete loop. So it wasn't great, but it ran all the way through it on max settings. So I'm not too disappointed in that. So there you have it, guys. That is the $400 budget Ryzen build using the 3200G, and I am extremely impressed with that $100 chip. I'd recommend that for anybody trying to build a budget machine, and later you can throw a GPU in if you want. And on that particular board, I could even throw in, a 2600, a 3600. Obviously, I already had my 2700X on there, and I couldn't push it probably that hard because of the limited space that case has. But, I mean, it'll handle whatever you throw at it. So it's a nice starter package that you can very easily upgrade in the future. So I highly recommend that you check out the 3200G and everything else that I have used here. Links for everything in the description below. And I put the specs and stuff down there, what I ended up at after my overclocks and stuff like that as well. If you made it all the way through this video, even through the overclocking stuff, you are a true nerd, and I love you. Thanks very much for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.